Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So, introductions. Feedback is greatly important. Feel free to reach out to me either through email, Substack, and of course, YouTube. Some of the audio platforms that I'm on: Spreaker, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, just to name a few. Alright, so this episode is about fashion from Slovakia. I'm going to give my thoughts and then facts about it. Here we go. Okay, so here is a quick overview of the AI generated response of the fashion history that is of Slovakia. So the history of fashion in Slovakia is rich and varied, and it varies, reflecting the country's diverse culture, influences, and geographical regions. So traditional Slovakian clothing, known as krog, forgive me for the pronunciation, has evolved over centuries, influenced by both local and external factors. So in the 16th and 17th century, the first decorated costumes began to emerge, featuring embroidered ornamentations and specific color compositions. These elements varied by region, with bright colors like red and blue being common and linked to the Slovakian traditions. The development of textile factory in the 18th century and then industrial advancements in the 19th century brought new materials such as cotton, wool, and silk, leading to changes in the form and style of clothing, accessories, and increased a variety of colors. Men's traditional clothing in Slovakia typically included a white linen shirt, woolen trousers, and a vest or jacket with embroidery. Headwear and footwear were also significant, with hats and fur caps in winter being common. Women's traditional clothing included embroidered dresses, vests, and decorative accessories, often featured with intricate patterns and designs. So by the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th, significant changes occurred in the existence and development of traditional clothing. While the basic types of clothing and footwear continued to form into two characteristic groups, lowland and mountain regions, traditional costumes were increasingly replaced by modern clothing in cities and towns. However, the traditional dress continued to be worn during festivities or feasts and special occasions, preserving that cultural heritage. So today, traditional Slovakian clothing is primarily worn during festivals and special events, showcasing the intricate patterns and regional differences that reflect the country's rich culture. All right, so that was a brief explanation to talk about the history of the fashion. And some of the AI generated responsive sources reads as follows: Sable.com, Spectre.sme.sk, and LittleBigSlovakia.com. And so, as I said and I mentioned in previous episodes, particularly on Fridays, featuring culture with the aspects, and I appreciate all you listeners out there who listen to me. And that's what Fridays showcase. So, particularly with countries that center themselves around preserving traditions. It's again embodying this staple of how knowing where your roots come from, that overall shapes the way the future preserves your history or thinks about you and your history. And it affects a lot how people move and shape and want to protect their culture or their city, country, and so forth. And so I'm going to extend my thoughts out after this. So here we go. Okay, so I'm going to start out about the history of the clothing, and I'm going to end with modern aspects of Slovakia, and as far as that with high fashion and the aspects of their linkage and their influence and the aspects of fashion in a modern sense. Okay, so historical roots. So as I was stating in the 16th and 17th century about this, so the folk customs called kroll began to appear around these times. Okay, so these outfits featured beautiful embroidered and bright colors that varied by the regions. So at first, the clothing was practical, designed to keep people comfortable in different weather conditions and made from local materials. And so that's very impactful to say, too, when the aspects of, it's not so prevalent as it was, but how that when we go on to the aspects of holiday, different, I guess you could say that was sort of a working tradition or something. But anyway, my whole point of when it used to be a thing, but I think it's still like that, but I'm not, it's just not popping up as much as it used to be. But you go to small business by small business for the holidays, and that's was very prevalent to understand, to resurface that your money back into local businesses. Because why? That drives in strong economic power for, again, your community. And that's something to really think about here, about the aspects of local materials being built and made, and how that driving up the strong connection and the strong power of bringing back economic, growth and vitality in the community. Okay, so bell-shaped skirts rooted in the Baroque period were a notable feature of these traditional customs. As society changed, clothing started to show social status, with richer people wearing fancier designs. By the 19th century, the krog became an important symbol of Slovakian identity, often worn at festivals and cultural events. The skill involved in making these costumes included intricate lace collars, reflected the talent of local artisans and the importance of keeping cultural traditions alive. So women's clothing. Again, what I was saying, so this extends it out. So women's traditional Slovakian clothing includes the kroll, which looks different in various regions. So a typical outfit features beautifully embroidered blouses made from linen or cotton. So the skirt is usually full and colorful, often worn with an apron that has intricate designs, and it's quite lovely to see the power and paying attention to the details here and what they're wearing. These ladies are wearing. So women also wear head coverings called kerchiefs, which show different styles from each region. So married women often wear distinctive garments and headwear, such as bonnets and headscarves. And so that's a lot of power in that, within the importance and the the aspects that goes back to the traditions of what is valued in society, that was revered to be a married woman versus a single woman, and showing the difference in the distinctiveness between how you carry yourself as a married woman versus your single woman. That's a lot to think about there. So, okay. And headscarves that set them apart from single women, that the fabrics are bright and colorful, with the colors often having special meanings. So, the older women typically wear more conservative, darker colors compared to brighter costumes of younger individuals. So, during festivals and special occasions, these outfits may have additional decorations, showing the wearer's connection to local traditions and cultures. Okay, so moving on to men's clothing. So, the evolution of male clothing in Slovakia is quite interesting. So, it's showcased with various types of clothing worn by men throughout history. So, men's traditional Slovakian clothing was quite unique in this aspect. It usually featured, white linen shirt that is comfortable in warm weather. However, with the aspects of trousers, they were typically made from wool and often have decorations that show local culture. The transition where, just something plain versus something more elaborate on the trousers, and that's why I said however. So often have decorations of local cultures, as saying that again. So to complete the outfit, men may wear a vest, jacket, and feature quite elaborate embroidery, and this enhances the aspect of the skill craftsmanship here. So accessories like belts, hats varied by region and are important to the overall look. So going on, for a special occasion, men might wear leather shoes that add a bit of flair to the style. So this traditional attire not only reflects the personal identity, but also connects men to their community and heritage. All right, so I am going to go on to the recap here. So traditional Slovakian clothing, or kroj, is a special part of Slovakian culture and history. These colors, they are very colorful and very, very gorgeous, and embroidered outfits come from different regions and show the country's rich traditions. So both men and women wear kroj during festivals and important events to celebrate their heritage. Each costume is unique, with patterns and designs that reflect local customs. By wearing these clothing, Slovakians honor their past and keep their cultural identity alive for future generations. All right, so they also have a YouTube link if you're interested in the source that I will provide for you about the folk dress. All right, so I'm going to go on and wrap everything up with talking about what's going on in the modern sense of fashion in Slovakia. All right, so here we go. So this is what they are about. So this is from this is entitled The Most Comprehensive Overview of Slovakian Fashion Creation. So this is all about. So for over a decade, the Slovakia Fashion Council has been shaping and growing the Slovakian fashion ecosystem. So this is a key part of the mission in capturing the evolving landscape of Slovakian fashion. And it is a primary tool for this as a fashion map. So originally launched in print in 2017, the map has also been brought to the online presence. So extend out all that. So open studios by fashion map. So concept stores and discover fashionmap.sk says join us in The aspects of to explore open studios and concept stores where you can personally meet talented Slovakian fashion creators during open studios and enjoy a variety of events that offer a closer look into their creative process and give you the chance to draw unique inspiration right from their showrooms. Alright, so some of the work here I'm going to go into. Sylvia Sherbinia. So this timeless design and quality materials are essential. So they create most unisex pieces with no specific age in mind. So this is something to draw inspiration for life. So it says about them. It says it's rooted in sustainability, originality, quality, and comfort. So the brand combines unique designs with upcycling using natural materials and black and earthy tones. So it's clean, it's minimalist, it cuts, and are enhanced with creative details. And so this is very prevalent, being very popular with the aspects of less is truly more, and this minimalist aspect of designing and wearing clothing, and that links to the aspects too of your space of where you live and so forth, with that minimalist aspect of your room space, office space, and so forth. Okay, moving on. So Mandak, believe. So the brand Mandak, again, is a one-size garment aiming to be eco-friendly by reducing overproduction. So it also offers custom-made prices exclusively for men or women. So the design process, it alternates between constructivism and deconstructivism, incorporating upcycling as a key element. So, going more on about them. So the work is rooted in emotion, exploring contrasting colors, experience, and textures. So these are the concepts: bold and expressive here. So what I'm understanding. So it reflects thoughts on personal identity and focuses on storytelling. So since my creations, they're not me, but them. Their creations balance constructive and deconstructivism. They aim to find harmony in between the two. So, when you build something up and destroy something, trying to find a balance in that, those very stark ideas about creating something. So, find harmony between it, and so which is most with their garments, and the understanding for the aspects of why it's a unisex brand too, and it's one size fits all. So they go on to say naturally they gravitate towards combining diverse techniques and materials. So the design often features handcrafted sewing techniques to enhance with textile manipulation and techniques. Additionally, they incorporate photography, graphic design, printed embroidery, and collage into creative process. It's quite interesting. All right, so gonna end with this here. All right, so Führer, I believe the pronunciation Führer. So the defining feature of the Führer brand is it's raw, it's unapologetic in design, and it is inspired by the character of the streets of their versatility. So they blend influences with a personal fascination for cinema, crafting authentic stories to bring credibility and depth to each collection. So, going more depth about this, Führer brand is defined by They unpolished design rooted in the character of the streets and their inherited versatility. So what does this mean? This approach manifests on the surface as experiments with cuts and visual details. So on garments, it disrupts for future by styling. So what does this mean? While beneath the surface lies an intricate composition of inspirations tied to the theme. So it's not solely about presenting a well-developed theme, but also about embracing the accompanying moments and nuances that breathe life into it. So these elements drive them to ensure that each collection feels authentic and believable. So essentially what they're trying to say from my point of view is that they design something that's not pretentious, I guess. That's something that is authentic from what they think, from what they feel about fashion, what they think about fashion, and what they think that their customers, what they would like, the modern aspects in Slovakian fashion. So I'll wrap up all this, one of my thoughts about it. So again, with this aspect, it brings me back about this aspects of unisex and the aspects of how that, blurring the lines there, how that's, again, another antic to bring notability to the world of fashion with the grandiose of shock value here. So it reminds me about the aspects of, again, I make very clear that how much of appreciation I have for 80s music, fashion, and so forth. I was born in the later part of the 80s here, but that goes without saying. But how even though I was born in it, it's great because it was a great decade, I think, to each its own. But here, it was more bought into the mainstream about androgyny here. We got musical artists like Boy George, to a lesser extent with David Bowie, and then with Grace Jones, artists like this, they were in themselves being performance artists, but musical artists here. But they also were on the cusp of being trendsetters for fashion. So that's quite interesting when you get into the notion of fashion designers making it known that they want to, associate themselves with these aspects. From my point of view, this might not be what they're doing, but this is my interpretation about it. So again, this draws into the aspects of, I think, another way to create attention to something, so to get people watching to see what they'll do next, I guess. So this also is, a stark transition into the traditions of Slovakian culture and aspects. But that's quite interesting to see. So the mind concept of where modern Slovakian youth culture and so forth are thinking about in their point of view or their disposition about fashion or how they feel about clothing in general. And it's quite unique and interesting. It's not what I mean by unique and interesting with the aspects of how that translates, and that goes back to the aspects of American is that, with the aspects of minimalist and unisex and all that, is that something that's, influenced by European, design, or what? It's something to think about here when the aspects of that, when we look at these sort of fashions. And so me, I like, elaborate clothing. I like, haute couture for what it used to be. It's sort of in the middle now, but with this point of view, it's quite, not my cup of tea, but I get with the aspects of less is more. That's quite interesting. That's quite simplistic in itself, and that's nice mentality to have, and also a mentality to have how you position yourself in life too. But the aspects, again, going on with the unisex aspects of clothing, and I think that's just a European thing too, with the certain dressing for everyone. I guess that's more economic as far as sustainable, efficient to do. But it's just funny how that comes to mind too, about the other aspects of creating an atmosphere for people to pay attention to your brand too. So with that said, this reaches the end of the Harbor Light. So I'd like to know your thoughts about the aspects of Slovakian clothing, or the aspects of clothing in general, traditions in clothing, and so forth. Feel free to email me, follow me on Substack, X, and of course fill up those comments in YouTube. It'd be greatly appreciated. So this is the end of the Harbor Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care. Have a great weekend, and bye-bye for now.